I like to dedicate this to all of the Creator's righteous children. I have some food in my bag for you. Not that edible food, that food you eat? No. I have some food for thought. Since knowledge is infinite, it has infinitely fell on me.
Peace, YouTube. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a discovered on a movie I just watched called As You Are. Now, I remember seeing a lot of the trailers for that movie. It's like an indie movie. It co-stars Amandla Stenberg and other young actors who were new to the scene. And it was an indie movie based in the 90s, hence the As You Are, play on Come As You Are, the Nirvana song, which is my favorite Nirvana song ever. And I just checked it out. I checked it out, the first part of it, a couple weeks ago, and I just finished watching it this week. And I'm going to tell you my feelings and thoughts about it and recommend it to you, whether you should watch it or not watch it. So let's get into it. So I'm going to be reading about the movie from my computer, so you can get a little feel of what the movie is about, and tell you my opinions, who's in it, and basically what the storyline is and whether you should watch it. So yeah. So basically this movie is about adolescence. It's about young kids growing up, but not in the typical way. So it deals with this middle-class family, and they're middle class because they live in a suburb in the middle class in the Midwest, not because they have money. Actually, the family we're going to be talking about doesn't really have a lot of money. They live in a trailer. So what the main character of this story, if there is a main character, he lives in a trailer with his mom, and his name is Jack. And so Jack lives in this trailer with his mom, and his mom is dating this guy named Tom. And Tom is this military guy who has this son named Mark. And Mark is like this, not a like, I don't know how to explain him. You know those people who were like dorky, but not like book smart dorky, but like they aren't really that cool, but they're like cool in a, like, it's really, really weird to explain. I knew a lot of these type of people when I was growing up, like in high school and stuff, and I didn't really know how to put my finger on like what you would call them if you had to describe them, because, you know, I'm not really into labels of people and stuff, so they were just people to me. But like there's a certain type of way, like you call them like grungy kind of. I don't know how to explain it really. Pretty much, basically, Mark likes to smoke weed. He listens to a lot of like grungy alternative music, like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, because this is based in the very early 90s, right? So like, I think this takes place around 92 or 93. I think 93 because or even 94, because during the movie they talk about Kurt Cobain's death. And so it might be in 94 or 93. I'm not really sure. But anyways, it takes place during a school year. So it might be 93 to 94. And basically, Mark and Jack become best friends because their parents are dating. And Mark and his dad end up moving into the trailer house with Jack and his mom, Karen. And basically what happens is that Jack and Mark become best friends, and they also meet this girl named Sarah, who is played by Amandla Stenberg, and they become friends. They become this threesome, and they skip school a lot, smoke weed a lot, and just like hang out and do like reckless things. And they're, for the most part, well-meaning children and teenagers who just are done with school. They don't really see the point of it, except for Amandla's character Sarah, who she basically is a bookhead, but she likes to hang out with them anyways. And she comes from a nice family, she has money, you know, whatever. So, and she's biracial, which I think Amandla Stenberg is biracial anyways, so it makes sense. But yeah, they become friends, and basically they're hanging out for a while, and you don't notice this kind of at first, but over the period of time, I think this movie's like an hour and 44 minutes. Over that time, you start to see more of the storyline of this movie. And basically, it's that Jack and Mark start to fall in love with each other as more than friends, as more than like stepbrothers, even though their parents are not married, but like, you know, the stepbrother type, you know, thing. They start to fall in love with each other as lovers. And they try to really like confront their feelings a lot during the movie. Not really so much in the beginning, but towards the middle and end, you start to see that a lot more. There's some scenes in the movie where the boys kiss, and they try to play it off as if Jack was going to ask Sarah to the prom, but then he didn't know how to kiss. So Mark kissed him and showed him how to kiss and whatever. And that was sort of the beginning of the I love you is more than just a friend thing. And, you know, because Mark's father, Tom, was from the military, he's very abusive. And so one time, Jack and Mark get into trouble because they skip school for 3 days, and they get in trouble. And then basically, they get in trouble for that, right? But then the next time that they see each other, Sarah, Jack, and Mark, they find this porno, and they end up watching it in their room at the trailer house. And what's weird to me is that you're in a trailer house, so I'm confused how your parents didn't hear what you were watching in there, but at any rate. And so they're watching the movie, and Tom, Mark's dad, is under the impression that Jack is too soft. And so he wants to send him to the military, right? And Karen is opposed about it, and so they get into a fight, Tom and Karen. And so Tom goes to find his son, and he walks in the room, and they're watching a porno, and they get in trouble for it. And basically, Tom ends up yelling at and physically abusing Mark. And they run out of the house, and they leave, and you don't see them for a while. On the other hand, Jack really wanted to take Sarah to the prom, but Sarah had already said yes to another person. And so when that person stands up Sarah, she ends up going to Jack's house, and Jack and her fall in love. Well, not really fall in love. Basically, what happens is they start going out, and it becomes more clear later that they were going out kind of as a front, because Jack isn't fully in his, Jack loves Mark, and Mark loves Jack, but they don't really know how to go about their feelings because it's the 90s. And around that time, you know, it's not so widespread that it's cool to be, you know, in love with a guy if you're a guy, or in love with a girl if you're a girl. Like, it's not cool at that time, which is sad. And so basically they try to like mask their feelings by going out with Sarah. You know, first Jack goes out with Sarah, and they try to work it out, and they try to make it a thing, but they realize that they're just not working for each other, and they know why. And then at the end, you know, Mark decides to go out with Sarah as well, but Jack gets mad at him because he's like, I thought we told each other that we weren't gonna front anymore. We were just gonna be. We were gonna be real. We were gonna be ourselves. And he couldn't deal with it. And throughout the movie, you know, you start to see, especially towards the end, you start to see more of Jack trying to really live out his truth. But Mark, because of the father that he has, Tom, and just because of society, he isn't ready to fully come out and fully be in his truth. And it really hurts Jack for a lot of reasons. And in the end, he ends up taking Mark's life on accident, because Mark and Jack like to play with guns. And they have to go out into the wilderness and just like shoot animals and stuff. And they were playing with the guns at that time, and Mark was drunk, Jack was drunk, and he shoots Mark, and it's really sad because Mark never got to fully live out his truth the way that Jack was starting to, and it's really sad. But yeah, this movie's kind of just like, it's very grungy, very Midwest, or very like, even Seattle, very, just very small town, very outcast, misfit type movie. And, at one point when Mark had left the trailer house because his dad took him away, he ends up getting into it with this like group. I don't want to call them a gang, but they're like this group that just likes to piss off and do stupid shit that doesn't even make sense. And those type of people that like to go and bother people at like a corner store or like whatever. They just like to do dumb things like that, break people's windows, like stupid things. And so he hangs out with them, and they aren't really his crowd, but he's just hanging out with them because he has to leave the house and be away from his father. Until he ends up coming back and hanging out with Jack, and him and Jack start to form a bond again. And when Jack finds out that Mark was going to start dating Sarah, and Sarah knows that this is a front for both of them, but she's willing to play along because she really likes them as friends. But when Mark comes to Jack and tells him that he is going to date Sarah, Jack gets really, really pissed off and basically shoves him, and he goes into he gets a brain injury. And he ends up going to the hospital. He's okay, but he still isn't willing to fully let himself live his truth, even though when Jack and his mom, Karen, go to see him at his house, there's a scene where Jack and Mark are sitting on Mark's bed, and they're sharing a blunt, and Jack is sitting one way, and Mark asks if he could, lie down on his lap. And, Jack says okay. And even at the end, there's this scene right before they go into the woods and Jack accidentally kills Mark. They have a scene where Jack really wants to, like, kiss Mark and, like, do all of the stuff. And Mark's like, I can't. I wish you were a girl. And so Jack takes it into his brain to go put on some lipstick and a dress. And then he comes back and he tries to kiss him again, and he's like, I can't. And then Jack feels really awful, so then they go into the woods, and he's drunk, and he kills Mark on accident. And it sucks, because I feel like Jack really, really loved Mark, and Mark really loved Jack, but they just couldn't live their truth, and it's really sad. So, yeah, that's the movie, basically. So yeah, like I said, I kind of decided to watch this because Amandla Stenberg was in this movie, and I really, really like her. I think she's a great actress. I like a lot of her political views. I think she's a really great person. But I really do feel like in this movie, she was played as a trope, as the cool black chick who's into alternative stuff and just is really cool, right? And I mean, because I think this movie actually took place in Seattle or somewhere, maybe in the Midwest, I don't really know, or in the Northwest, I don't really know. But basically, because they're in a small town and she's mixed race, of course, they try to play her up as the cool black kid who, is into alternative stuff. And that's cool, but they kind of just give her a trope, and they don't really fully go into her backstory at all. They kind of just follow the guy's backstory, which is cool. But I wish they could have opened up about her backstory a little bit more and her family. I mean, we do for a little bit while her and Jack are dating, but not so much. And I just wish they could have opened that up a little bit more. I know the story wasn't really centered around her, but still. And, Jack's mom, Karen, she's cool, but she did baby Jack a lot. And Tom, Mark's dad, was a total jerk. And I don't care if he was in the military. He's a jerk who abuses his son, which is sad. And I don't think that Mark felt comfortable coming out to his dad that he and Jack loved each other. And that's sad. That's really sad. And yeah, I mean, this movie's just kind of like a grungy, cute little like 90s indie movie. Not made in the 90s, obviously, but like a cute little, based in the 90s, grungy little indie movie. And I will say that this kind of took me for a loop, because in the beginning I just thought this was one of those slice of life type movies where they talked about best friends and all these things. And I always knew that Mark, or somebody, I think Mark, passes away. But there was a point in the movie where you think that he passes away, but then he's alive. But then he passes away anyways. So then you're like, what? So it kind of gives you some curveballs, because in the beginning you can't really like 100% tell that they're going to end up together or like they like each other. But when it starts to be revealed more, you start to be like, oh, this makes more sense. This is what the movie's about, whatever. So yeah, do I recommend this movie to you guys? Maybe. It's a cute little indie movie. I definitely, if you like Amandla Stenberg, check it out. If you like the 90s, check it out. If you like slice of life movies, check it out. If you like grungy stuff, check it out. Yeah, I mean, it's a cute little movie. Yeah, I mean, nothing special, but it's cute. And it will take you for a ride, and you won't be able to tell what the plot is in the beginning, but midway it'll be like, oh, this is the plot, Mark and Jack getting together, and whatever, like you'll start to get it. So yeah, this was discovered on As You Are, the 2016 indie movie based in the 90s. And if you like LGBTQIA plus stories, you'll like this. There's lots of ways you could like this movie. So yeah, if you like indie, grungy, 90s, LGBTQIA plus, Amandla Stenberg, any of the things, you'll like this movie. So yeah, this is just another Discover. Until next time, peace and blessings.